Man, how did they go? Busy, moving and grooving. Yeah, busy. I can imagine that. Yeah, it was crazy. I just happened to want this certain sub over here on Appalachian Parkway, and I ended up running into one of my students, former students, spazzing out. Really, they was about to call the police on him. So they say he'd be over there all the time. And I looked at him, and he like, yeah. I said, well, man, what's wrong? You know what I'm saying? What's going on? What do you need? And honestly, all he wanted was a little blunt from the store. But that kept him from getting arrested. And his mindset, how he was at that time, he wasn't gonna be compliant to the wow. Wow. He was gonna end up getting hurt. And so I just happy I was there to help him at that time. That's amazing. Good afternoon, Stephanie. Hey, go ahead on the tag and share. Let's get everybody in today. I feel like today is going to be an amazing show. Good afternoon, Mother Pat. Let's get everybody in. I tell you, it's been a busy day. It's been a busy day, but I promise you, when this day is over, I'm going to find somewhere to rest. So, man, listen, I'm excited to have you on. We're going to be talking about what I feel like is amazing and something that's going to be life-changing, and that is the fact that we had an amazing time, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So I'm excited. Go ahead on the tag and share. Let's get everybody in. Afternoon, Stephanie. Let's get everybody in for the Greg James Community Show. It's now getting ready to be on the air. So let's get everybody in. Let's get everybody in. Good afternoon, Brother Dozier. Sylvester Taylor, how are you, sir? Sylvester, I had to correct you on yesterday, man. Not if. It's gonna happen one of these days. All of us gonna have to get out of here. Hey, man. So glad to have you on, man. As a matter of fact, it's good to have you sharing with us. Yes, sir. Marcus Manning, how are you, sir? Glad to have you tune in. Yvonne Stewart, glad to have you. Glad to have you tuned in to the Greg James Community Show right here on Hallelujah 95.3. Want to say good afternoon and welcome to, that's right, it's the Greg James Community Show right here on Hallelujah 95.3. Listen, I'm excited about what's going on in the city. Want to give a big shout out to all of you that are tuned in by our virtual platforms, and those of you who are tuned in through the airwaves. Go ahead on and call a neighbor, call somebody and tell them that the show is now on the air. Listen, for those of you who are in and around the city, the name Sock Choppy went big last night. And joining me in the studios is my man, the Bishop Harry Edwards. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How you doing today?
Good. Did you hear the name Sock Choppy last night?
No, I didn't. You can tell me right now.
Oh, man, you didn't hear about the little 5-year-old drummer
from Shop Chop in Florida.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah, man. I think he just put Shop Chop all the way over the map, on the map, round the map. Yeah. Shouts out to Chris Whitehead and his lovely wife and their beautiful family of young men who are doing an amazing thing. His son last night was on an amazing show, and the 5-year-old drummer did an amazing job, and he advanced to the next round, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about that. But big shouts out to him. I mean, he was just amazing on last evening. Got a chance to watch it myself on Facebook. But I'm excited, man, to have you joining us today. We're going to kind of like recap the Tallahassee Leadership Prayer Breakfast. Shouts out to Pastor Stanley Walker, who had an emergency. He was going to be joining us today. Shouts out to Christy Henry, who had an emergency as well. All of this happened within the last 30 minutes, but it's all fine, well, and good. But certainly want to talk about a little recapping of the gathering of the Watchman Breakfast that happened here at the Tallahassee Leon County Donna L. Tucker Civic Center, which was an amazing moment. Shouts out to the team who made it happen of the Tallahassee Leadership Prayer Breakfast. Thank you all so much for the hard work. Let's talk a little bit, Harold, about what was that moment like? I mean, the room was surrounded throughout the room with over 12 mentoring groups. I want to talk about that because that's significant. 12 mentoring groups that were there who mentor young African-American males in our community. What was that like to you?
It was more amazing to join with some young men than it was because I've been to the ones before. But seeing the young men, and sometimes when you take kids places, they don't really understand. But seeing that seed planted, seeing all of those people in one place with a positive outcome, seeing people that they've only heard about on television, that had a tremendous impact on not just the young men I brought, but I saw the young men all around where they could see these people in a different light, see it put on by a man that looked like them.
Right. And I think one of the most important things on Saturday morning for the overall group of men was to be able to have our males in a place.
Yes.
And to be able to have them to, as you say, see people that perhaps they see on TV, perhaps they read about, but to be able to interact with them gave them a sense of understanding and knowing that one day that could be you.
Yes.
Yeah, you could be the next judge, or you could be the next attorney, you could be the next tax collector or property appraiser. That could be you. And I think that it's so important that on Saturday morning, and thanks to Apostle Otis Young for recognizing all of our programs and commending them. I think it's so important that as we get ready to move forward, we talk about how we are losing a lot of our males, but there's not enough celebration of the programs that are impacting the lives of our males. And you all over at the Council on the Status of Being in Boys, you brought a group of boys there. What was their thoughts?
They just was, I think, amazed at the sheer amount of people that was there. And even seeing, because you had so many, a lot of times with adolescents especially, they don't want to feel like they're the only ones doing something. But to see that because it was other mentoring groups there, the cross-pollination, or they were able to see other people that they knew that showed up as well, and that because they saw other people that had shown up, that they were able to recognize and see some of their friends, and their friends got that same experience, and to understand the just holistic and the totality of the love that was there, the experience that was there, and able to soak that in. So they really enjoyed the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, let's talk about, I mean, you're talking about the 100 Black men. They were there along with some of their leaders. Brother Minister Ernest Lane was there, and a lot of their young men were there, and they are doing some amazing work in our community. And not only that, but you had the Omega Lamplighters, they were there. You had Kingdom Life Preparatory with Courtney Weston, they were there. You had Leroy Smith with his group Win-Win.
Yes.
Marcus Pittman and Leonard Inge with their group, the Triple Bs.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Chuck Friesen, you had Coach Hughes.
Yeah.
You had man, I'm missing names because, but there were so many groups that were there that were able to have young men in the building.
Yes.
And that was amazing.
Yes.
And I think that what it did, I mean, I had a chance to talk to some of the men, the Kappa Leagues, they were there with some of their young men. I think what I was able to gather as I talked with some of the men who were leading the groups is that for some of the young men, it was an amazing moment for them.
Yes.
And I think that if we're going to see the change that we need to see happen in our community, throughout our community, then we got to let our young men know that this could be you. This is you.
Yes.
And you are that positive impact. You've been doing a lot of work with young boys in mentoring. What are some of the challenges that you see that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis?
Consistency. Finding soldiers. The Bible says the harvest is ripe, but the laborers are few. Finding the quality men to give the time to some of the young men on a consistent basis. And then a lot of the loopholes that sometimes you deal with, the legalities, whether that's in the school system, to where although their intention is to keep young people safe, sometimes it creates a barrier to where it's hard to work with them. And then having the young men trust us. Because by the time we get to them, they're 12 to 24 years old, they've been lied to so much, especially by people who look like us, especially by men. They've been lied to so much. So it's hard to build that trust to where, hey, you can come to us. We don't have no hidden agenda.
Right.
We don't have anything to hurt you. You can come to us and get the help you need. You can open up to us to get the help that you need. Because sometimes by the time we get to them, they don't become so hard.
Wow. And I think one of the things that happens when we look at some of our young males in our communities that we're reaching out to, I think you said it best when you said they've been hurt and they've been disappointed so much until when you come saying, hey, we're here, then the question not only becomes, what are you here for? Then the next question becomes is how long are you going to be here? So I think that one of the things that we have to do as we look at moving forward as men and as watchmen, I think what we've got to do is become accountable to each other, so that we can become accountable to the young men that we're trying to lead in a positive way and in a positive direction. Because there's so much out there. I mean, there's so much pressure that our young boys are facing today. And we've got to be able to be strong for each other so that we can give them the guidance that they need.
And we have to learn how not to work in silos. You know, you did this, you reached out to me, and you got the sponsorship, and you didn't have to. The event was already sold out.
Yeah, it was sold out. The event was sold out. And I'm glad you brought that up because truly it was. But then it was impressed upon my heart to say, let me see if I can get some of our mentoring groups there, because I not only were we recognizing, and we'll talk about that, not only were we recognizing 5 of our faith leaders who had served over 30 years, but we're recognizing about 13 men who are in the trenches. So I felt the necessity or the mandate to say, listen, I've got to get some of our young boys here. I've got to get some of our mentoring groups here because I want them engaged. I want them to see this. I want them to be a part of this. So I reached out to sponsorships. I reached out to you at the Council of Status of Men and Boys. I said, hey, I'm getting a sponsor for you all. And because of that, let me give a shout out to some of our sponsors who helped sponsor the tables for some of the groups that needed a sponsorship. I want to thank Sue Dick, who is over at the Chamber, for her sponsorship and support. She thought it, when I shared it with her, she thought it was just amazing. I want to thank her. I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Curtis Richardson for his sponsorship. When he read about it, he called. He said, man, what can I do to be a part of making sure that young men are there? So I want to thank him. I want to thank Dexter Goldwild at Interstate Money for his sponsorship. I want to thank Herschel from the business that he has for sponsorship. So I want to thank these individuals who saw how important it was to engage and have our young men there who are being mentored in mentoring programs. Listen, joining us on the phone line is none other than Bishop J.D. Harris from the Mount Olive Free Will Church in Quincy, Florida. Good afternoon, Bishop. I'm wonderfully well. We are talking about, and I wanted you to chime in because you have been a part of our prayer breakfast for well over 6 years, but this year was a little bit different because we were able to recognize pastors, we were able to honor men in the community, but most of all, we were able to have our room surrounded by mentoring groups of African American boys in our community. And how important is that as we move forward?
I just want to put you, but like everybody that's in our community to come together. The position for community is first and foremost, but no further calls from some of us to be on there, that y'all watchmen. And the entrepreneurs and business leaders into understanding the youth. And those are the ways that we'll come together, have a time of prayer, and seeking God, and saying, there was so much good stuff that was put together for us down in the morning, and I'll be glad to listen to you too, to see us for breakfast together and having this vision.
I want to ask you this because I know you're on campus and I know you're in the community, and I know you see how important it is that if we're going to save our young boys, our males, how important it is to have programs in place. And I know pastoring in the Gaston County area and being over here in Tallahassee, I know that there is a absence of fathers, the absence of men. What would you say to those who are listening that are raising their sons without the presence of a male, without the presence of a father? What would you say to them?
been the capability to have some. So the way that confidence. So that encourages you.
Wow. Well, listen, Bishop, listen, I want to thank you so much for your support. I want to thank you for all that you're doing throughout our communities. And then certainly I want to thank you for pausing just to take a moment to share with us some insight on the importance of mentoring programs and the importance of manning up so that we can make the difference in our world. That's Bishop J.D. Harris from the Mount Olive Free Will Baptist Church. Certainly want to thank him for joining us on it. Listen, I got a comment from Jared Witham. He said, I thought it was very interesting that a lot of folks that criticize the Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce for not caring, wait a minute, let's see, not caring about the most needed in our community didn't show up and take part in this great community event while the chamber showed up and put resources behind the cause. Absolutely, definitely showed up and definitely put resources behind it. When I was sharing with Ms. Sudik about it, immediately she thought it was an amazing moment to be able to invest in making sure that youth groups throughout our city come and be a part of it. And man, listen, we had some groups there who have been mentoring children, and we're going to get a chance to talk with another young man, Leonard Inch. He has been mentoring, you know, Leonard from the South Side. He has been impacting some of our boys' lives. He's seen so many of them off to college, stopped so many of them from going to prison, found jobs for so many of them. And these are guys that were there that are in the trenches, that they're not getting funding from no organization, but because they got a heart to make sure that these young men stay on the straight and narrow path, they're making the investment. And I'm sure you had a chance to talk to some of those mentor leaders.
Yes, and I would like to piggyback on what you said about the chamber, because a lot of times people mistake, like when you talk about Nehemiah and you go to Nehemiah, if Nehemiah didn't have that relationship with the king, with the resources, then everything he thought about that wall would have just been a thought.
Nothing would have happened.
Nothing would have happened. So we gotta stop disenfranchising people that have the means to help us get to the dream that God has for us. And we have to stop demonizing them because they have wealth, and learn how to partner with them and allow God to place that seed in their heart to help us move forward with the things that we're doing. But yeah, just seeing those different young men's groups, seeing those different, their eyes light up when they saw certain stuff. Just a lot of them have never been in a building with those people that they don't usually be in the contact with.
And you know, the thing about it is so amazing that, you know, the young lady who we invited to sing, she shared with me how that felt to her. And she said, I've never sang before this many people before, but she was so excited about it. And that's what we've got to do. And sure, we could have gotten, you know, me and Doc D, we talked about it. We could have gotten anyone to sing, but we wanted to bring someone young in.
Yes.
And we wanted to display the youthfulness of what we have. That's why that room was surrounded. And even though it was sold out, I went above and beyond to ensure that these young mentoring groups were in the building for this particular moment.
Yes.
And this particular moment was life-changing for so many of them.
Oh, it was, yes, sir.
And so I want to say that when we talk about the Council of Status and Men and Boys, I mean, your work is in the heart, in the trenches of our community.
Yes. Yeah, we trying to, all of us that are there right now, left other obligations, other things that we were doing, because we saw the need in the community, because we want to be a community where our young men are able to grow up and be pillars of their community, pillars of their family, and not get cut down by some temporal problem that they choose right now to solve with gun violence. Getting them the help that they need, manning and putting resources together to help young men be able to find other solutions for their problems, other solutions for their anger, and not to let something temporal make them make a permanent decision.
Man, listen, let me tell you something. They say a picture paints 1,000 words. I saw the picture of you and some of those young boys,
Yeah.
man, and the smile that was on their faces.
Yeah.
I mean, it said something to me. It said that, man, I am glad to be here.
Yeah.
And certainly once again, we ended up with a sold out event. And the event was sold out, but yet having the men, hey Pastor, come on in here, having the men to be able to come in, having the men to be able to come in to share,
Yes,
and to be present. I think it may impact. It may impact Pastor Walker. Come on closer so we can make sure you in the screen joining us. He had an emergency. We got to get you. We got to get you in the screen. We got to get you in the screen. We still ain't got you in the screen. We got to get you in the screen. Come on over. Come on over. We got to get you in. Now you got to pull up. We're gonna get you in the screen. Hold up. Hey, listen, y'all stay tuned. Just hold tight, Pastor Walker. He just entered, and we got to get him in the screen. There you go. There you go. Perfect. Get right there to that mic. And certainly want to thank him for making it over, because he had an emergency, but he said he wanted to get here. And we were talking about we're talking about our young men, our young boys who are being mentored in our community. And we're talking about the various groups that were there with young men and how important that was. And you had some interesting things to say about that when you saw it as well.
Yeah, I think today, myself and you and Dr. Scott was sharing our thoughts in terms of Saturday and further action, how significant it's going to be, and following up
Absolutely.
what needs to be done in terms of helping our brothers, young brothers, and with all the different groups that are around our area and community. You know, we talked about what the next step.
Absolutely.
And I think that these groups that are presently doing what they are doing, we have to commend them for a job well done, with at least making a step forward and trying to, what I call in our church, SOS, save our men and save our sisters.
Absolutely.
And I'm quite sure that you have great strive in doing.
yes, sir.
And Greg know that my thing is that as people do, there has to be a sense of caring. I think you said that on my way over here. The consistency of letting men know, boys know, that this ain't no one-shot thing.
Yes,
Absolutely.
You know, and I asked Pastor James this morning while we was having breakfast, what is your ideology on brothers who are coming up now without a father in the house? What is the next step that we can do? And I asked him, is it humanly impossible? When I say humanly impossible, that some of these guys may not have a chance. And that is that if they had fathers that was addicts, and what's the possibility? And you know what we said.
Right.
And I kind of laughed with Greg. They said that's a great possibility of the potential of these guys who have had fathers that did drugs. And Greg said something interesting. To share what share this, what you said.
Okay, I will.
About the
Prison situation.
Yeah, with generation, yeah.
So we were talking about the importance of us as men
Yes.
being able to be there for Father. But here's the thing. I was shared with them this morning that I was in Leavenworth Penitentiary. I was outside at a rec table. There was a grandfather at the table. There was his son at the table. And then his son's son was at the table.
Yes.
So we got 3 generations at the table, and they appear to be fine, like it's okay. And so I'm saying that whatever that father spirit is, it's going to follow that child if we don't break that generational curse. What I mean, and I'm sure you've seen.
That's the thing one thing that Sheriff McNeil made us in existence for, to try to help break some of those generational things that are on some families, where you have the father get in trouble, the son, and then so on and so forth. But it takes that person to get in the breach, so to speak, that other exit, that other thing that will attract them to a different life, that interrupter, so to speak, that would be like, well, I seen my daddy, I seen my uncles, but wait, I also got this guy in the neighborhood that's doing something different. And I see the results in his life. I see the results that, because one thing that the 100 Black Men say is, what they see, they'll be. And so we begin to be in that place of that father, and you don't got his friends who out of jail come to see, but you actually got some men of substance that have made better decisions come and say, hey, here's a different way.
So do you think, let me ask you this, do you think a spirit, oh my God, we're going to get real spiritual here now.
Okay.
Do you think a spirit of addiction that was on, I'm just using me as an example, was on me, and I have a child, do you think that carries over to that child if he's a son?
It can, if you don't accept that new bloodline in Christ, or you have somebody who can connect you to something different. Because a lot of times those problems become not just spiritually, but the natural environment that that person is in. Because the grandma or whoever is still in that same community have them same problems and those same things. So you have to have somebody that can stand in the gap, somebody that has the time, that'll take the time to show them something different.
Wow. Well, I tell you, it was a opportunity that we opened up on Saturday morning at the gathering of the Watchman Breakfast, whereby we allowed about 12 different groups to be present.
Yes.
And we were able to show them something different. But not only that, they were in a space, they were in an environment
Yes.
that was quite different. I mean, your guys, some of your guys, they had some amazing stories. There were so many others who shared with me that for some of them, they even saw the Judge
Yes.
Tiffany Baker, who is at one point was serving in the juvenile courts. They even saw her,
Yes.
but because they were now embraced by a mentoring group, their life was able to change.
Yes.
And when they saw her standing up, speaking and talking, it gave them a different outlook. Because not only does she sit on the bench, but she has a heart for the community as well.
Yes.
So Pastor Walker, I think that, like you said, our next steps have to be different. And I think our next steps have to be bringing communities and bringing men together if we're going to save a generation of boys that are being targeted by men in our community that's doing damage to our community.
And
Go ahead.
But one thing too, think about Peter and John and Andrew and James. They were in the family business of fishing until they met Jesus.
Okay.
And somebody showing them something different, that you're not just fishing in the water, but you're a fisher of men. Opening up that you're not just Simon, but you're Peter, you're a rock. Giving them that different mindset, giving them that different exposure, helps them see something and want something different. I'm reminded of my wife. She had a mentor, took her to a house. She wanted to go to a block party, but took her to a house that had a Christmas tree that was 2 stories high. And all she knew growing up was staying in apartments. And that made her open her eyes like, people live like this for real? And it made her want, because that one little vision, that one little taste, it made her want something different. Some of the young men that I dealt with coaching football, being in the community, you let them taste a little something different, let them see a little something different, and it opens up that hunger and that thirst for something that they not have ever seen before. But it takes men like yourself, men like Reverend Walker, men like us and others that have the same heart, no matter how small it is, to give them that opportunity to just see something different. Go ahead, Reverend.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree. Perspective that Christ gave us, and like you said, that perspective, and me and Greg talked about this one time before on the show. Where's the church?
Yes.
Wow.
That's,
You know, and
yes.
see that what you just said, Jesus showed Peter, James, and John, they were fishermen. But after a while, they taste what? Saw something different.
Yes.
And was able to change their life. Now, I'm going to tell you the key with this thing. And you ask the brothers, I'm talking about men our age, and I do this, what's called purpose of man.
Yes, sir.
And being Christ-like, and they want to follow.
Yes, sir.
We are so phony.
Oh my God, you talking good now, Doc. You talking good.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you talking good now.
We are so phony.
Yes, sir.
To the and you got men on Facebook.
That's right.
That these brothers see in church, and they raise the question. Then it's like my grandson. I take my grandson for the instance.
Yes, sir.
If I'm one way in church,
Yes.
and then another way at home in the house around him, it throws up a red flag.
That's right.
And then Greg talked about with the church, with the voice being toned down, we are presenting ourselves one way. And one thing about it, you can't fool kids.
Nope.
I watch these children when they worshiping, they real. They don't know how to put on a show.
Yeah.
And that's what you were saying in so many words, in so many ways, the consistency of our lifestyle,
Yes.
as men. Because if you ask the question, with 50 men, ask them the question, what is a man?
Yeah.
I guarantee you get 50 different answers.
Yes, sir.
You know why? Because here's the first step. God created what? Adam what? First.
Yes, sir.
He created him as a what?
As
a man.
Yes, sir.
So here's the process. It's man, then he was a what? Husband, and then he was a father.
Yes, sir.
So Adam had to get this part straight over him.
Yes, sir.
Being a
One man, because look at his family. His family's so messed up.
Yep.
Wow. So
And that what me and you were talking about.
So here's the point, and I think you said something. So if we're ever going to get the family straight,
Yes.
we gotta get the man straight.
That's correct.
That's right. That's
And
right.
if we're ever going to be able to impact young boys,
That's
Yes.
right.
then we can't be faking phone.
That's right.
Because like you said, oh, here you go. I've seen this before.
Yeah.
How long you gonna stay in my life?
Yeah.
Oh, what am I just part of a number program?
Yeah.
Or is this real?
Yeah.
I shared this with Pastor Walker and another pastor this morning, and I probably will get some flack when I say it, but I say it and I mean it. I look at the Nation of Islam, and I look at how they take men who have been tossed aside, who have been perhaps given up on, but they give them hope.
Yeah.
They empower them. They surround them. I feel like as the body of Christ, we have a whole lot of women in our services, but we have very few men.
Can I comment on that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
The problem with us as believers, and I just got this analogy in my head. It's a whole one thing to go to the fish market and you go get a fish that's already clean, already boned, already, and you can just flour them up, you know, and put them in the fryer and you done. But there's a whole nother thing, Reverend Walker, to scale that fish.
Yeah.
To gut them, to get that raw material. But see, those other religions are able, they get that raw material and they work with it and they work with them at their lowest. Sometimes the churches is hard because we want a finished product. We don't want to work with that raw material. That brother, he might still be doing this, he might still be doing that. And you work with them, don't shame them, and you work with them and allow God to change his heart.
Wow.
Allow God. Now we want to try to flower them up. We ain't scale them.
Yeah.
We ain't gut them. We ain't cut the head off. You
Wow.
just trying to flower them up as soon as you get them out the water. It don't work that way. Sometimes some of us act like we want to flower them up and fry them in the water. We ain't even caught them yet.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's the problem. He says, go. Fish don't jump out the water into the pan.
No, they don't.
They got to be clean, scaled. You know, I bought man used to use this all the time. And they need to be scaled, clean, and da. So, other words, what you was actually saying, and what we all saying, that when it comes down to us as brothers, are we up for the challenge?
That's correct.
And that's the other part of being a watchman.
Yes.
Wow, being up for the challenge. Someone just basically made a post, and then we got another young man on the line. S. Marshall says, women raise a nation, men protect that nation. Right now, the nation look like, well, let's talk about our community. Our communities are unprotected.
That's correct.
Because the watchman
Not here.
is not here. Joining us on the phone line is one of the young men who brought a group of men out to the Tallahassee Leadership Prayer Breakfast, Coach Leonard Inge. How are you, sir? Can you hear me? How you feeling? Well, listen, we are talking about the fact that our room on Saturday was surrounded by mentoring groups. You brought out, you and Coach Pittman, some of the men, some of the young boys that you all mentor. How important is it? How important is it in your view to be able to look at these young boys on the street, look at them and bring them in and give direction to their life? You all been doing this now for how long?
And in total, probably about 20 years for myself.
Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you doing what you're doing?
And this community has grown several times in my life. My community has been a picture care to the kids. And that's basically became the start of the 707 program for actually to show kids something different and eliminate the
Wow, stop right there. The time period where mischievous activities take place is from 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock. I want to say this because a lot of, and you know, my ultimate goal was to invite mentoring groups that are out there in the trenches, such as you and Coach Pittman. Y'all are out there doing what y'all doing. Y'all are not being funded by no organization, no funding from the state, no appropriation, no city funding. You're doing it because you say, You love the community and you love the kids.
Everybody has made mistakes. And there are people in this community that and look at it and all we have to have with that. I think I'm getting to the my job in the paper. And then I tell you that I know that. I know that. And so right here, I know everything about how to do it. Every day, and if I wanted to step this man the things I'm reading, I have no problem with that. Every man can offer his time in his heart to do that. Sign up. We're doing that today. We all up in our clip. And John Thunder, it don't matter. We all we need to do.
Well, let me ask you this. On Saturday, you brought a group of men out. We got sponsorship to take care of that. What were their thoughts by being there, and what was some of the conversation you all were having at that table? Well, listen, Coach, I really want to thank you, man, for taking time to call in, because I wanted to get your thoughts on, the Saturday prayer breakfast. It was a time whereby over 12 different youth mentoring programs were there. You all surrounded that event. You all surrounded them, and I just wanted to thank you and Coach Pittman for what you all do. And there's so many other groups that were there, and I appreciate the work that you're doing. And one of the things about it, when you got a passion for it, you would do it because you know it's what you've been called to do. Coach Leonard Inge, thank you so much, my brother. All right. All right. Hey, listen, that's what it's all about. Listen, we just was talking to some of the young men who were leading some of the groups, and certainly Pastor Walker and Minister Bishop Harold. Certainly, man, when you talk about the gathering of watchmen, and when you talk about what happened on Saturday morning, first of all, we're talking about honoring 5 pastors who have served over 30 years. I think, Pastor, you have been here well over 40 plus years.
That's true.
And you've seen the times change. From the time you got here to how it is now. You've never seen it like this.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that in the 40 years, community is where we are now. And where we are now is that I raised the question what we need to do next. Because it's a different time and different generation and different things that our community or our young people are dealing with than 40 years ago we did deal with, in terms of the drug as severe as it is now.
Hallelujah.
But one problem always still with 30 years, 40 years or whatever, start from home.
Mm.
You know, is how can we get the home, the foundation? How can we get that, the foundation? What we need to do in terms of, like you said, you can take all of this kids and spend 8 hours with them, 9 hours with them, and they can say yes, ma'am. They can say no, ma'am. They can be very respectful, but then they got to go right back. They got to go home. I had a principal tell me one time. She said, "Pastor Walker, this college used to be over at Neal." She said, I can, if I can have a school, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, we can do a great, make a great tip. Because after 8 hours being in school, they got to go.
Gotta go home. They're home for 16.
Well, and certainly I think that everybody has been talking about our next step. And I really feel and believe that Sheriff Walt McNeil really placed the call to action at the forefront.
Yes.
The call to who will go and whom shall I send?
Yeah.
If we're going to make the difference, all of us have to make the commitment to say, here am I. And I think it goes back to what you said, Pastor Walker. We can't be faking this.
No, we can't fake it.
You know, if you're real about it, then let's be real about it.
Yes.
And certainly we want to thank some of our sponsors who made this happen, the City of Tallahassee, Southern Group, Faison and Brooks, Sheriff Department with Sheriff Walt McNeil, our county, Figures Communications. Certainly want to thank Mataki Akbar, Dr. Bellamy over at Tallahassee Orthopedic Clinic, Jared Willis, President of Capitalist Strategists, Paul Alois at Rubin and Rubin, just some of our fine sponsors, Senator Corey Simon. Want to thank them for hearing the vision and making the investment to help support what we did on Saturday. Just celebrating the 5 pastors who served for over 30 years, and then the 13 men who've been in the trenches, behind the scene, making a difference. How, when you see it like that, does that motivate men to do more? I mean, what was your thoughts? I mean,
I think it's good. I think it does spotlight, especially when you spotlight the people who might not have been spotlighted before. That it shows that your work is not in vain. Yeah, we're going to heaven to get a reward, but the Bible says give honor to who honor is due. And sometimes we fail to do that. Somebody like Reverend Walker, who's been in the trenches in the South Side, he didn't move his church. He left his church right where it was. He served his community. He does a lot of stuff for young pastors that he not bragging about.
right.
That just do it. Stuff that lesser men charge for. He do it for us just because he loves us and he loves the Lord. And that deserves an honor. That deserves, even what they did for you. You're not doing it for a trophy.
No.
But you sometimes need that attaboy. You need that encouragement to make you go to the end. That little, it's like you running a marathon and that one little cup of water, when you halfway through, refresh you and let you run on, see what the end gonna be.
Wow, absolutely. That's what it's all about. And certainly we want to take time to certainly give big shots out to Dr. Benny Bolden and Carmen Connors, because I think they were absolutely amazing serving as our host for the morning. And when we talk about, I want to go through these guys right quick with the few minutes that we have left. For those who was not at the prayer breakfast, we honored Pastor Stanley Walker, Pastor Joseph Wright, Pastor R.B. Holmes, Pastor Judy and Jeremy Mandrell, and Pastor Ernest Farrell. We honored them for the work that they have been doing for over the past 30 years. And then Pastor Otis Young and Pastor Lamar McFadden and Bishop Lamar Simmons, they snuck in a surprise and honored me. And I told them I didn't like surprising, and y'all figured out why I didn't like surprise. But however, man, men like Steve Beasley.
Yes.
Just in one word, how would you describe him, Pastor Walker?
He's a warrior.
Warrior. Sam Carter.
Yeah. Consistent.
Consistent.
Because he was one, he helped mentor me.
Sam Carter.
Yes. He was one of our football coaches at Rutgers High School, the best high school in the world.
He helped mentor
He
you.
helped mentor me. So that's the thing, you know. He's been around, he's been consistent, he's mentoring, he's been there. The same thing with Steve Beasley. They've been there. They've been consistent. You might not get your name and lights. You might not get all the other recognition, but God knows when the people that you serve know that they can count on you and you consistent.
Wow. Darius Doc Baker.
Yeah, Doc D.
Man. Doc, join this conversation, man. I mean, I gotta bring you on in here, man. I mean, here we are. I mean, your work is one that has been, I mean, especially in my life. I mean, when we first started the prayer breakfast 8 years ago, man, you were there to encourage me. You were there to say, hey, you can do it. What you think about, and we congratulate you on all that you're doing. You got a big summer program going on. You've seen your vision now come to life. How does that feel?
Pastor James. I mean, we all know the very first, well, some may not know, the very first prayer breakfast, you had just gotten back. And, you know, I felt your vision. I felt the purity of the motives behind it, getting everyone together. And I really, truly believe that you're anointed to do this. It takes special people that's able to bring so many different people from different walks of life, different egos, different pathways, different ideas, different all from all aspects to get together in one place and to agree that prayer works and change is needed. The way to do it, hey, we can talk about that, but you got to get folks together first and foremost. And I think that it's very few, if not just one person here that can do that. And you've been doing it for 8 years. God has blessed you to do it. I mean, well over 700 people. It was just, man, it was enlightening, really, to see folks shaking hands that normally would be on a different scope of things, but you know, you can see them networking, you can see them. Hey, program, we need to do this. They may not have done that if they wasn't in the same place at that appointed time. Someone had to allow God to work through them to orchestrate this, and you did a phenomenal job, man. And I just salute you for it.
Well, thank you. And I think
I say this, same thing. Let me tag team with you with that, Dr.
Yes, sir.
Is that you know how Moses left and said, I refuse to be called, you know, and God had him on the backside, and for so many years on the backside of the mountain, then God did the burning bush, said, okay, it's time for you to go, you know, that's Greg James. He had been on the backside of the mountain, because each time, you know, he have said to me, what you think about this? The first thing I asked him, I said, baby, do you pray over?
Yes.
I prayed over him. I said, if you prayed over, let's go. When he was released, he said, this is what God gave to me. I'm about 1,000 men.
1,000 men round.
Yeah. And I said, man, you sure let's go to work, man? You just got it. He said, man, God gave it to me. Let's go. Let's work with it. So we put people in the community. And I saw God at that point in time. I saw the anointing at that point in time. I said, okay, then let's go. And God, I have already blessed. That have already been given to James. He's on the backside of the mountain. And even this mountain, it's I said, why you come up with the debauchery, man? He said, I dream about it, man. I said, nah. I said, yeah. I said, okay, then. Since you dream, God gave you vision. That's what it really, and he took it from there and ran with it. God bless him to see. So I'm saying to all of us who are listening in and tuning in that God can use anybody. But because he can use anybody, that means a sense of jealousy, that means a sense of envy, that means a sense God gave him the vision. And so we follow whatever the visionary is in our community. It's just same as you Pastor Judy. She said, Greg came to me and Greg said, I said, Pastor Judy, God gave this to you, let's run with it. She's been running with it for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Because that was Pastor Judy's vision. So we get behind and we go from different things. So I'm thinking what we are now next is that whoever God gives the vision to,
Yes.
how to fix the problem. And we know the problem. And one reason I don't like to meet, because I already know the problem. When you on calls as a welcome, you got to come up with a solution. I don't want to discuss the problem. I need a solution for the problem. I've been in this community for 40 years. I know the problem. So when you come to me, you say, this is what we're going to do. I'm with it. 100%.
You ain't meeting to have another one.
I ain't meeting to have another one, man. Life is too short. You know, I don't need to talk about drills. I don't need to talk about dollars. I already know what. You need to know. So let's say, this is what we need to do. This is how we're going to do it. And I can push the people to do it and get behind. I'm going to be behind 100% because I already know that God have already what?
That's it, man.
That's it.
And you know, I respect that about Pastor Walker because he like James, look, I'm not going to no meeting to have another meeting. I've been looking at this for 40 years. And if we're gonna do it, let's do it. And he always said, did God give it to you? If God give it to you, let's go. And I appreciate that because Dr. one of the things that we can say is that we know when God breathes on something.
Yeah.
No matter how many people try to come against it, no matter what roadblocks get in the way, God gonna always come out victorious.
Yes, sir.
So truly, man, we celebrate you and certainly we thank God for you. Thaddeus Bruce, one word, when you think about Thaddeus Bruce. Committed. Definitely committed, because when we started the prayer breakfast, not the prayer breakfast, but the citywide prayer group, every month, wherever we meeting, he is there setting up and ready to go. And has a ministry called Redeem because he's not ashamed of what he has been through. And he know God has redeemed him for it. Okay. Rudy Ferguson. Advocate. Absolutely. He's going to be advocating no matter what. Okay. Corey Fuller.
Behind the scenes. Yeah, behind the scenes.
Yeah, he behind the scenes. He working hard to make it happen. Mentorship.
Yeah.
Vaughn Wilson.
Chronicler. Somebody got to be the person who takes the history of everything and through the radio, through the camera, through the events, he chronicles the history of Tallahassee.
Wow. Oh my God. That's good. That's good. Curtis Richardson.
Consistent.
That's the word.
What is an election year? I told him that before. What is an election year or not? I don't care if they have an Tiddlywinks tournament. Curtis Richardson, if it's in his district, he gonna be there.
Talita Edwards says resilience, powerful. Okay, he's gonna be there.
Yeah, then he's making candles on the in Southwood the next week.
Yeah. And you know what? I tell people all the time, you can't do this and say you're doing it for pay because as many hours as he put in, it don't equal to the pay.
He's always there.
And that's what's important. Keith Rogers. Community. Yeah.
Talented.
And I think that position that the opportunity that clerk gave him has made him more engaged in the community because now that he know more, he's sharing more. Yeah. And that was one of the things that made a difference with me because somebody said to me, they said, so why are you going to celebrate Keith Rogers? I said, because Keith Rogers, not just black on black rhyme, but Keith Rogers has taken information from the clerk's office and put it into the community to educate folk. He has what I call clerk town hall meetings in deprived areas to let them know what services are available for free.
And you never really know what somebody, just like God can recognize everybody, you never know how important something is on your body. You don't know, you don't think about your little toe till you stub it.
That's it.
You don't never know what you think is little and not important. Hurt it one day or have it missing and watch what happens.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Al Williams, One Church, One Child. Dedicated to the community. He's dedicated to the community. He's always there. Raymond Ishmael is a young man who, man, I found a great love for. This young man has made it his business, him and his wife, to feed the homeless over at Lake. Oh, wow. No funding. This is something that God has commissioned him to do, and he's consistent in doing it. Eric Austin, man, young man who was just honored in the Hall of Fame at Godby.
Wow.
But then has taken on the mantle of serving kids in the Day Street and in our community, man, in mentorship and giving out scholarships, just giving back, just being there. So we took moments to honor some amazing people that are in the trenches that's making a difference. And this prayer breakfast was one that really, really impacted lives. And I want to say this to you, Pastor Walker, with thousands of people listening. We had a little small hiccup in the beginning because we ended up getting more tables. We had sold out, so we was over at 80 plus tables. And I know you had shared with me that you wanted all of your tables with your members to be alike. And somehow our numbers got a little crossed up. But guess what he said? He said, man, listen, don't worry about it. Just find them a nice table to sit. And whoever's at the table, we don't have to make a big anything about it. We'll sit somewhere else. So I want to thank you for that. That did take a little bit of the load off me. But then I ran across on the other side of town and another situation was going on. But however, we got it all worked out. Everybody was seated. And it was just an amazing event overall. And it could not have happened without the grace of God breathing on all that we've done.
Yeah, and the thing must be said that even though there have been so many people within our community that have done so many good things, some of them have gone home to be with the Lord and some of them still around. And we could not have been or done what we did Saturday without the recognition of our past.
Absolutely.
Our past have made us our present. And I want to say to all of those, and I kept saying, Great said, Walker, you can name us so many different names, we can't recognize everybody in the community. He said, I just got to do what I got to do. I said, well, let's do this. And we got an opportunity now just say thank you to the community.
Yes.
For all of those whose names were not, but we know that you were there in terms of where we are, the hard work, effort, the commitment for our community, that you were there. We want to say to everybody, thank you. As a pastor from a spiritually, like you said, you got to give people their flowers now.
Yes.
You know, and what we are doing is trying to say to our young people, these are the people that have helped and are helping you to do what you need to do, because we're going to pass the what?
Baton. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Going to you.
Absolutely.
And if we're going to do that, we're going to have to show them the way.
Yes, sir.
And we got to make sure they are committed.
Yes, sir.
We got to make sure that they know, have a little bit of wisdom and a little bit of understanding what it's all about.
Yes,
It's
sir.
all about people. Ain't black and white, it's all about people. And we have to do that.
Absolutely. Well, listen, stay tuned. We're getting ready to have one of the biggest one-night revivals outdoors. So stay tuned. We're going to be telling you more about it. It's going to be on the south side. So we're coming together. It's going to be a one-night revival. We're going to take all day to do evangelizing. And we're going to be outdoors one night. And we're just going to believe that God is going to get the glory as we continue doing what he has called us to do. The Watchmen are going to be gathering for one night revival. Stay tuned. You're going to hear more about it. And we're looking to see you join us for that night. Final closing words today, Brother Harry Owens.
Let's just keep being consistent. Let's just keep going. And let's let this not be just a one-time thing, but a continuation of what we're going to continue to make this community grow and change.
Absolutely. Pastor Walker, final words.
Peace.
Peace. That's it. Well, God bless you. Listen, it happened in the month of June. That means we're halfway through the year. And today is the day that we challenge you to let's move forward as watchmen that's making a difference in our community. This has been the Greg James Community Show. Tune in again next week. And in the meantime, I want you to be blessed and live the life that God has called you to live. Until then, you be blessed.